right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get the public portion of the water plant going here. Sorry for the delay. We're having some problems with the PowerPoint presentation. Chris is presently making copies. We'll try to disseminate some into the crowd. But Rich Eiffelise is here from CT Consultants. He's going to go through the presentation and talk to the particulars of why we're before council for three reads for the separation from our water plant and buying bulk water from Paynesville. There'll be a question and answer period afterwards. We'll go past the 6:30 mark if we need to. So just want to again apologize for the delay in getting started, but at this point I'll turn it over to Rich Eiffelise from CT Consultants.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, that's on. Mayor, Council, good evening. Folks, good evening. My name is Rich Eiffelise with CT Consultants. We're the consulting engineers for the village. This will be a little difficult here without the images. We do have a PowerPoint presentation to overview, and I have it broken into 4 distinct parts. The first was to overview with you what your existing system is, just so you may or may not know the age, the nature of the treatment plant, and your facilities that service you with public water. My first slide that you don't see is the water treatment plant on the shore of the lake. If you haven't or not aware of its location, it sits there right on the lakeshore line, a very prominent location for development in the village. Built some 90 years ago. It's serviced by the raw water line that we draw from Lake Erie is a 20-inch pipe that from the plant, if those of you might know where the plant is on High Street at the lake shoreline, the raw water line extends easterly under the river and then north to the lake. It's a 20-inch pipe that draws raw water from the lake that's then treated at the plant. The pipe has no screening at the intake. It's in very shallow water. It's susceptible to a lot of sand deposition in there. The village had done a report for the treatment plant a couple years ago, and the recommendation at the time was to extend the intake if the plant was to remain in service. And extending the intake, estimated a couple years ago, was about $7 million to extend the raw water intake. We're not talking about the plant, we're just talking about extending the intake into deeper waters of the lake for good quality raw water. That raw water line was built in 1936. The other major facility besides your treatment plant and your miles of water lines distribution system is your elevated storage tank on Orchard Street. That was built around 1935 as well. It holds 200,000 gallons and is approximately 125 feet high. It's in disrepair, mainly from the exterior. It needs some rehabilitation, but functionally, it serves its function. It provides the needed pressure and storage volume for the village customers. As a result of looking long term, the village and the village council approved a resolution to advertise for proposals to seek qualifications from entities that could serve a couple, 2 to 3 outcomes. One, we put together a request to purchase the entire system, the treatment plant and the entire distribution system. The other was to seek a proposal for the purchase of bulk water. and that the village would retain the water treatments, the water distribution system, the lines, and the billings, and direct billings to the customers. When we say purchase bulk water, that would allow the village on either scenario, the second scenario, I'm sorry, to decommission and eventually demolish the water treatment plant under the purchase of bulk water. Fairport Harbor, this process began in May of 2021 in publishing RFQs, and over a period of months and interviewing and reviewing the submittals that we received from Aqua Ohio, a private water company, Lake County Utilities, and the city of Paynesville. There was a lot of reviews associated with that. The most notable factor in looking at these qualifications were that they were all capable of providing water. However, with the city of Paynesville, we already had a physical connection. You may or may not know, there is a physical pipe connection on Richmond at the river on the south side. We're physically connected to the city of Paynesville's water system. The others, Aqua Ohio and Lake County, would have spent millions of dollars to bring a water line, to bring bulk water to the village. As a result, the recommendation was to enter into an agreement with the city of Paynesville for the purchase of bulk water. In the negotiations with the city, the administration, with the city of Paynesville, and that's what's before council on second reading, was a initial rate of $3.57 per 100 cubic feet. The city of Paynesville agreed to only increase the rates of the village when they increased the rates within the city. Their only stipend was that the outside rate, meaning the village, would remain at 50 cents higher than the inside rate. So when I say the inside rate, inside the city of Paynesville's corporate limit, so any rate increases in the future would be equal, but 50 cents higher. So we're starting off at 50 cents higher, basically, than the inside rate. And any future increases imposed by the city, 2%, 4%, whatever they may be, will be also passed on to the village, except with the proviso of the 50 cent increase. The other considerations in Paynesville is their capacity to service the village and outside customers. They have a treatment plant capacity of 7.5 million gallons a day. They currently service and produce 3.1 million gallons per day. They have quite a bit of capacity. The village's treatment plant, your treatment plant, has a design capacity of 1.5 million gallons per day. And I know I'm throwing out all these numbers and there's nothing there to see or to review. I apologize for that. 1.5 million gallons per day. The rated capacity, however, due to some limitations on the process at the village's plant, is approximately 1 million gallons per day. 1 million gallons per day. However, the village's demand has seen a significant reduction in the last decade. You're averaging now today about 235,000 gallons a day. You have a treatment plant with capacity of 4 times that you support to keep up, but you're only using 1/4 of the capacity of the plant. So 2 factors there trying to represent to you is that the village's infrastructure, your treatment plant, your facility, will require ongoing maintenance, repair, and capital improvement. In addition to that, you are already under notice of violations from Ohio EPA, which you have to correct. Through this process, the agency, the Ohio EPA, is working with the village to allow this direction of decommissioning the plant and purchasing bulk water to mitigate the notice of violations that we have at the plant. So you have a plant with capability of producing 4 times the amount of water you use, and Paynesville has an abundant amount of water supply to provide to the village. The city has indicated to us that they have already previously approved 5% rate increases in the next 2 years. So that's on the books for the city. That would be on the books for the village should you come to agreement. They do not foresee any further increases for a number of years. And while that all sounds good, my next visual here was to show where the rates are, what it costs for a customer of Paynesville Water. And I would, Ohio EPA publishes this rate survey. It's available to the public, it's online, and that's basically the data I extracted. In the last 10 years, the city of Paynesville's residential rate, total outlay based upon a usage of 1,000 cubic feet a month. So if you think about 1,000 cubic feet of water per month, it's kind of an average residential usage. The residential water rate per year in the year 2008 was $287. Fast forward to 2019, it's $420. It's maintained a fairly steady, if not uniform line of increases that are not abnormal and actually are quite attractive when you compare it with other communities of like size. In the case of the village of Fairport Harbor, similar criteria, 1,000 cubic feet a month, same time period, annual cost to the customer on average in the year 2008 was $511. And today it's $521. But there were some major increases during the prior years. It could be some abnormal data. Your rate was up towards $700 in 2016. It now is around $521. And as I said, Paynesville's today in 2019 is $420 based upon EPA's rate survey. As a result of the potential of decommissioning the plant and the purchase of bulk water, the village applied for grants for improvements associated with what's left behind, meaning demolition of the plant. You have a elevated storage tank that is approaching 100 years old. We were successful in getting 50% money from the Ohio Drinking Water Assistance Fund to fund those projects. The demolition of the plant, the construction of a new elevated storage tank, a secondary water line connection, if that can be worked out, and then improvements to the physical connection that we're making on Richmond. There's a vault on Richmond Street. Improvements there need a pressure regulating valve and a master meter. If this goes through, you become a master meter customer of the city, and then the village in turn continues to bill customers for water, maintains the ownership, operation, and maintenance of your water lines in your system. The next slides are all visual. They're all visual. I was showing you the location of the meter vault on Richmond on the other side of the street, discussing the water plant's demolition. I have a couple slides that show the potential site for a new elevated storage tank behind the service garage. Behind, when I say behind, towards the river, between the service garage right next door and the service garage, and the river. The tank would be 250,000 gallons in volume, approximately 150 feet high. The ground, if you heard me before, the Orchard Street tank is about 125 feet in height. It's on higher ground. This is a little lower ground. And what we're trying to do is maintain, obviously, the same working pressure that you're used to in building a tank. The volume you currently have, while in the tank being 100 years old, is also substandard. It's not per standards, EPA standards, to maintain a 24-hour working volume in your tank. As I mentioned before, you're averaging 240,000 gallons a day in demand. Your existing storage tank is about 200,000 gallons. So I had a couple slides showing a water spheroid style of tank. It's the most simple constructed. It's a clean design. Again, without the visual, I can describe it as a giant golf ball. You've seen a water spheroid. So it's a tee and a spheroid on top. The volume, it's a rising pipe through the inside. There's really nothing discernible on the outside other than a tank. The riser pipe's inside, and there's an overflow pipe outside for the overflow. The working volume is in the golf balls, if you will, part of the tank. And I had another slide for a tank. I had some depictions of pictures of tanks that you may see. And the other was the potential, the last project was the potential of constructing a secondary water line connection to the city of Painesville. As I said before, you have a physical connection already at Richmond that needs a minor improvement. The recommendation is to have a backup. It's a guideline, it's not a mandate. St. Clair Street from East Street to Skinner is a alignment we are pursuing to see if it's feasible to construct. That would be either on the bridge on East Street, the bridge over the river, or boring under the river, but not likely under. That sits on bedrock right below that river bed. I know I threw a lot at you in 15 minutes without any exhibits or pictures. It must be difficult to comprehend, I'm sure. Probably best to open up for questions, Mayor. It's very hard without.
Sure. So if you do have questions, I would ask that you go to the podium, state your name for the record, and then ask the question, and then we'll answer it the best we can. And the reason for the podium is so the folks behind you can hear. By show of hands, have you guys been able to hear the presentation to this point? Very good, good. So in no order, just come on up and state a name and a question if you have any.
Just one question. Is this on?
No.
Can you hear me? Okay. It's not on. Okay. Hello. Karen Bidlack, 635 Eagle Street. I have two questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So the last presentation you did, you mentioned about the EPA and our violations, and maybe there's some grant money that we can put into this, that we can switch over to this project. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that, do we have to apply for any other grant money?
The state, the village received state Ohio Public Works funds for the current work at the treatment plant. What I was mentioning is whether we had the ability, with their approval, to transfer those funds to one of these projects, those funds. That was not successful. We were successful in obtaining, as I mentioned, 50% funding grant for the projects from the Ohio EPA, not the Ohio Public Works Commission, but the Ohio EPA.
Okay.
But Karen, just to clear that up, the HAB plan was the project. It was for 400 and some odd thousand, correct? We are not responsible to make those improvements. So that money just goes back to the state to go into the fund that it came out of. So, but in that, we were hopeful to take those dollars, put them into this project, but really it's kind of just washed itself out with the 50% forgiveness that we did qualify for. We were going to get that 50% no matter what. Those dollars just went back in. The village doesn't have to make the improvements. We don't owe those dollars back.
Okay, and then my second question was about the water tower. You're thinking of replacing the existing water tower with a new one, right?
Correct.
And will it go in the same location?
No, no. The intent was to remove it, well, decommission the one that sits in a residential district on Orchard Street and construct a new one right next door. And the property, the service department.
Oh, okay. Okay, next door,
Right,
okay.
and the reason for that is to deconstruct and construct a water tower, we need about 5 acres of land in order to do that. It would increase the cost of the new tower by quite a few dollars if we tried to put it back in the same exact spot. Logistically, it would be next to impossible, and then it would just drive the cost through the roof. So a new location is needed.
Were you looking for one tower or two towers? Because you said a second, just one?
Just
one
one,
tower.
just
Oh,
one.
Okay,
Yes,
that's all,
yes.
thank you.
Just one. And that's not a recommendation, that's a have to do, because we don't have the present amount of water to fight a fire for 24 hours.
Correct, Mayor.
Mr. Luckshaw.
I've got about 45 questions, but I'll limit it.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill Lukshaw, 406 Cortlandt Street. My first question is, why are the Fairport residents going to pay 50 cents more than Painesville?
So the Painesville established rate to the outside communities of Painesville is 50 cents more. So Painesville already has an agreement with Concord, and that's what their rate is to them. That is what Painesville charges. We tried to negotiate that during the negotiations, but that is what their billable rate is for outside communities. And Rich can talk to what other communities charge. Painesville, by comparison, is more than
Yeah.
reasonable at 50% over what their inside millage is.
Sir, it's not unusual for inside rates, the outside customers pay anywhere from 33 to 50% surcharge for water or sewer when you're living outside a corporate limit. Painesville is proposing an 18% surcharge, 50
Okay.
cents.
Now, you said that we're going to pay approximately $3.57 per 100 cubic feet.
Yes, sir.
How does that compare to our current rates?
That's the rate they're charging the village as a whole. Your current rate is whatever you pay inside that burden, so that is reflective of how Painesville will bill the village. Then the village in turn bills you as a customer under their current rate structure.
Okay, what's the current rate structure then?
I don't have it in front of me, Bill.
Residential, 7271 for the first 900 cubic feet.
Per quarter? Well, that's hard to translate that to per 100 cubic feet.
It is.
Basically, Bill, your bills from the village are going to remain the same. We pay the $3.57 to Painesville as the village. The village is still going to sell you water, so we're maintaining the distribution of the water through the pipes, et cetera. There's still a cost associated with that. The $3.57 or the 50 cents over the inside city rate is what the village will pass on or not pass on based on what our current structure looks like at the time of that rate increase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is Painesville had 2 rate increases already scheduled.
Yes.
So theoretically, when they increase the rate to the village will probably increase the rates to us.
There's a very good chance of that, yes.
Okay.
Right. Well, while you're on that, if you don't mind, I might as well put it out there now. So Rich talked about the 50% loan forgiveness. So there's the other 50% that needs to be discussed. And that other 50% does have to be borne by the village. So that other 50% then would be passed on to the ratepayers, the customers, you and I as homeowners, businesses, et cetera. we'll pick up that other 50%. Amy and I had a very good conversation with Jason Boyd, the county administrator. There's some Biden dollars that are out there. There's other grants, et cetera, that we'll be pursuing to try to lessen that 50%. But that 50% is a very real number that will be borne by all of us here in the village. Well, go ahead.
Okay, let's switch to the water tower. Now, you're gonna build the water tower near the service department, which is significantly lower in elevation than the current water tower is. Are you gonna have to add pumps to that to pump the water to the village?
No, sir.
Okay, so the pressure alone will, okay.
Yes, sir.
Still on the water tower, who's gonna maintain the water tower? Is it the village?
Bill. Yes, the village, it's the village's project to build, and you own it.
Okay, is that similar to other, like Concord, who has Painesville Water? They maintain their own water tower?
I don't know if the township maintains they may, as a township, they may not own or operate their system, I don't know.
Right. We are gonna operate or distribute water through our system. We are gonna be a distributor of water. So that's on the village, that's on us as ratepayers to maintain. Pipes in the ground, et cetera. We're gonna maintain control of that.
Okay, just one final statement.
Sure.
These meetings should have been held 6 months ago before the final decision was made.
And I appreciate the statement, and all I can tell you, Bill, is that I would have loved to start it on a while ago. It's a convoluted process that we went through. Council has been read in on it the entire way. We did some of it through executive session because of the negotiations that were going on between the parties. Jim maybe could explain it a little bit better than I could, but by no means have we tried to not talk about this publicly. I've been talking about this since I believe the first report came out from the Lake County Port Authority. That's really what started the conversation. What really started the conversation is when the Lake County Port Authority provided us with options in regards to economic development and lakefront development. They only had two options before us. One was the city of Painesville and one was the county. And the dollars that they talked about with hooking into the county, and then they talked about our raw intake. If it should fail, it's a $10 million project to replace that intake. There's no way ever that the village could pass that cost on to anybody here in town and quote, even have 50% forgiveness and try to pay that back. So we felt that at that time it was good to explore these options in earnest at that time. I remember the conversation that I had when I first got elected as mayor. Aqua approached me to want to talk about buying the system or if there was agreement to be made, and we set those meetings. From their offer and those conversations really sparked the RFQ to go out to talk to the two other entities again and get real dollars and real figures, et cetera, and get CT in the middle of just exactly what it was going to cost to do this. Did it make sense to do this? And the numbers kind of bear out that it does, especially with the 50% loan forgiveness that's out there. Remember, the water tower has to get replaced no matter what, whether we separate from our water plant or not. The second connect has to go in. In October of this year, or October of last year, sorry, we actually lost the valve to the intake of the plant where we couldn't take in raw water to treat it, to pump it up into the tower. We were lucky we were able to get a pump to put into the Port Authority and bring that into the plant at that time. That's why council made the decision to put the pressure reducer in the vault that Rich was talking about. Now the village has had a connection. We haven't always had a connection. There was many years where there wasn't one. And then it was undersized at one time. Had we needed that in an emergency, we would have had to open up probably most of the fire hydrants in town just to reduce the pressure enough not to blow our lines out. So we were really exposed. So having that second connect over St. Clair really makes a lot of sense to do. And again, with the 50% loan forgiveness, it just makes sense to do now. The piece that's really, really interesting in all of this is the water plant will come to the ground. and then that land is now developable. Everything that's been talked about in Lake County for, I'd say, the last almost 20 years has been on lakefront development, and it's all centered in Fairport Harbor. Every plan I've ever seen, any meeting I've ever been at, the water plant has been an obstacle that needed to get figured out. And I think we finally have figured it out. We figured it out in a way that makes fiscal sense to do. We will remain in control of our distribution. One of the things that if we would have entered into an agreement with Aqua, we would have got into a situation where they would have got the 50% loan forgiveness dollars, et cetera. And then if the village ever wanted to break the agreement, we would have had to pay any money that they would have put into the project, we would have had to pay them back. Much like the agreement that the village signed with the Metro Parks many years ago. If we ever wanted to take the beach back from the parks, we would have to reimburse them for their infrastructure dollars that they put in. Aqua's deal was very much the same way. The Painesville deal allows us in 20 years, and actually 17 years the way it's written, if it's not working for the village still has an opportunity to maybe go back to Aqua at that time and try to strike a better deal for the village. But we are in control of our destiny this way, and we're really driving the ship.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
just want to add, this isn't necessarily, or if at all, a development program or project. It is sustainable delivery of water issues. We have to maintain the health and safety, welfare of the village. And with the EPA findings, the broken pump, our fire in 2011 that nearly drained the system, we were almost not able to fight that fire. We were within, literally, and the report and findings that are documented clearly state that we would have lost the village within the next couple of minutes if things didn't turn, which fortunately it did. But you take all of those things over time and assess that together and say what's going to happen in 10, 15, or 20 years, and it points in a direction. We have to make sure that we keep the village functioning. We have to deliver water, and that's really what's behind this. It's not development or we recover property on a lake or any of those things. It's really for the safety and welfare of the village. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Carla Ribozzi, 501 New Fourth. I'd like to talk about the budget. So in 2022, we got the budget in February, and it looks like the water plant operating is one of the biggest line items on the budget. And from what I could see, the budget's about $695,000 with about $430 in expenses. Now, there was revenue made because you sold the water to us.
Right.
So that was about $308,000 according to the budget for the year. So where is that going to leave us? We won't have that, village won't have that revenue, but yet you have this huge budget.
We will have the revenue. We're gonna continue with the revenue the way we are today, because we're
Okay.
still gonna be selling water. What we're not going to be doing is treating water and making water. So the costs and Chris can probably talk to the numbers better than I can, so I won't step on myself there, but there's a considerable amount of money that it costs to treat the water. That goes away. Now, most of that's gonna get swallowed up in what we're buying water for, so it's almost a wash.
Right, for them to maintain. I get that.
So that piece is there, but the revenue piece is you're exactly right. We want to keep the revenue. We run a significant portion of our government based on the water revenues that we make.
Okay. That's how I wanted to know what was going to change, and could we afford to lose that revenue
Again,
from
we're
our
not
own?
losing
But it's more for that from Painesville, though. The cost is more, so the revenue would be less. Or the profit, I should say.
Yes.
Because there is profit.
Right, so
Yeah.
there'll be employee reduction. We're not going to need one operator, right, Cole? So we've got a class 3 that we split between 2 employees. Those employees will go away, so there'll be some cost reduction there, health benefits, et cetera, that go on with that.
Yeah, but you're keeping on
We gotta keep at
admin
least
to bill,
Yes.
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And where is that money coming from?
The
to pay
revenues
for that.
The revenues that are coming from billing will
Okay.
continue to come in. We're not, there's nothing here that's going to make that go away.
Okay.
And we will pay for the current expense minus the power plant, or the water plant, and City of Painesville for water. So we're just shifting what we're paying with the revenues that are coming in through the water bills. That's not gonna change at all. And that, like he says, that, the mayor says that includes, staffing, one person for the water operations. We still have billing in the admin office. None of that's gonna change.
Okay. Except the basic budget number should be less then, right? Is that correct?
No.
No?
Amy, you have, yeah.
I mean, it's very expensive to run a water
Yes.
plant. I realize that. I was a chemist at B&N in Columbus for many years.
Yeah.
And know what it costs, but, so we won't have those costs.
Correct.
But you have this huge budget. So is that going to put money somewhere else available, perhaps for road repair or something? Or is there ever going to be a water levy made to help pay for what your budget is going to be lacking?
No.
Guess I don't understand the
So-
process.
But
The long and short, and we can get you the numbers, but what we're gonna buy bulk water for from Painesville is gonna offset the savings
Okay,
of what we were making water for.
okay.
Does that make sense? So if it cost us X to make our own water, it's gonna cost us X to buy from Painesville. It's almost a wash.
Okay. And one other thing, I had thought I'd seen in ordinances that there was a requirement or an ordinance that there has to be a secondary water connection as a backup. And now you're talking that it's optional.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last meeting, I never said, it's always been a guideline. It's never been a mandate.
Yeah.
It's a guideline to have a secondary connection.
Okay, in the
village,
ordinances of Fairport, there is a statement for an ordinance that we in Fairport were supposed to have a secondary connection as a backup.
as I understand it, you've never had a physical secondary connection. However, you were required and you filed a contingency plan with EPA that says in an emergency, you bring in bottled water, or you draw from the lake as an emergency if you can't produce water. So there's a contingency plan, and the opportunity with a new elevated storage and more volume, you offset that emergency because you've got 250,000 gallons available, and you could almost regard that as secondary. And that's why EPA never makes the secondary connection a mandate. It's a guideline. And in most small communities, that secondary backup is the tank or other provisions of bottled water
Okay,
in those cases.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one thing that we should make clear that over the next 10 years, there is a cost to keeping a plant, significant cost. And that's why the EPA findings are so important in this whole equation, because though, and Rich, you may have those numbers, but just to extend the line, I think when we did the study several years ago was 7 million alone, but that doesn't count anything that we would have to do to the plant itself. And there's significant costs there, millions there as well. So that number X is X plus all of those repairs that we would be mandated. We're currently mandated, right? And we're getting the forgiveness right now because we're working out an alternative plan.
You're currently mandated, and you have a facility that produces 4 times the amount of water that you need, so you're maintaining something you don't need. You don't need to produce that amount of water.
Yeah, but even aside from maintaining and having the additional capacity, that's one thing, but that plant is approaching 100 years old as well, if not
Absolutely.
more.
Absolutely.
And the EPA guidelines continue to change. It's like computer hardware. You buy a new laptop and tomorrow it's obsolete. Well, That's happening with the water plant, how the EPA mandates how we maintain it. And even though we have a large budget, and even though we continue to have projects, and Clyde, you could probably rattle off all the projects over the past 10 or 15 years, we continue to try to maintain that to the best of our ability, but EPA continues to make those guidelines more restrictive, and it puts us in a position that it's nearly impossible for a small community like ours to maintain that at the level we have to supply the water. Which is why we actually, this process seems new because we're at this point right now, but we were actually looking at this under Mayor Searcy and continued under Mayor Manross. And the restrictions keep coming at us, so we've ramped it up, and then with the failure of the valve and the fire 10 years ago and all of those things bring us to this point where, we have to do something. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. We want people to live here and flourish here, and the only way to do that is to have a plan that's sustainable.
Right, and to speak of the Ohio EPA very much is in the business of shutting down single purveyors of water. They want regionalization. Again, we could talk about 50% loan forgiveness. I believe we scored as well as we did because we are a small village. We are a single water purveyor, a single purveyor of water. They made it very, very, very enticing to do this at this time. If they come out with a mandate that we cannot do because of our customer base, et cetera, then we're forced to do something. And, the best time to make a deal is when you don't really need to make the deal. And that's kind of where we find ourselves now, is that, again, the numbers very clearly say this is the right thing to do for the reasons that Mr. Patone gave, is we can sustainably provide water to our village and to our residents in a consistent and safe manner. There is no bigger challenge or responsibility that we have in administration than to provide and produce water. To buy that from Painesville will be a blessing when that happens. Yes, sir.
Hi there, Brad Segro, 658 2nd Street. Just had a question on today's presentation. You mentioned the new water tower being approximately 250,000 gallons, and our current one is about 200 or 220. The last meeting you said that we were looking at a water tower of double capacity at 400,000 to 500,000. So I'm just wondering what the discrepancy is from the last meeting to this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, but no, I don't recall ever, if I did, but that's a mistake. The volume was always 250,000 gallons. That was by design. The village commissioned a hydraulic model. I think I might have mentioned that at the last meeting. We actually built a simulated model of the water system, so we can measure pressure anywhere in the system through modeling. So we measured the pressures throughout the system physically and the hydrants, and we modeled it on computer software. And that model resulted in the analysis and recommendation for 250,000 gallons in storage volume. The existing storage is 200,000. The recommended new storage is 250,000 gallons.
Pat Weaver, 9214 Lord's Drive in Minner. I just want to thank the council for actually taking the opportunity and looking out into the future and taking care of problems before they arise. It's pretty rare from my experience. And the second thing I'd like to say is I'd much rather drink some dirty water than do business with Painesville. Thank you.
We will be having another meeting before the next council meeting. We may actually move that meeting up based on the questions at the time it took here, so keep an eye out for that. I'm not trying to cut anybody short, but it looks like we don't have any other questions this evening. I'm sure you may develop some in the next week or two. If you'd like more copies of the presentation, please let us know, let Amy know, and we'll get them out to you. Carla, if you would like a little further explanation on the financials, I know we probably didn't really get it answered tonight. Stop up and see us after the council meeting, and we can get that information to you, okay? Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for their time and for coming out. This is a big deal for the village, and your attendance shows us that. So thank you for the thoughtful questions. And I'll adjourn the public portion of this, and we will start council in just a couple minutes. Thank you. Council meeting to order then. Jeff McKinney, will you lead us in the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call?
Becknick? Here. McKinney? Here. Shaver? Here. Saracy?
Here.
Bertone?
Here.
Heights? Here. Thank Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Chief Lloyd. He had a family issue to attend to today.
Second.
Saracen?
Aye.
McKinney?
Aye.
Backnick?
Aye.
Shaver?
Aye.
Bertone?
Aye.
Heights?
May I have a motion to approve the council minutes from July 19th and the Finance Committee meeting of the whole of July 19th as well?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Backnick?
Aye.
McKinney?
Aye.
Shaver?
Aye.
Saracen?
Aye.
Bertone?
Aye.
Heights?
Abstain.
Thank you.
From our solicitor this evening, Mr. Jim Lyons.
I just have one comment about, I better get my microphone. I just have one comment. There was a question asked about, in our ordinances, having a backup connection to the water department, a secondary connection. And I thought to add to the answer, that Rich gave, that we do, under our current system, have a secondary connection, and that is through the city of Painesville. Okay, so we are following the ordinances on that. I think that his answer was talking about the future secondary connection in terms of St. Clair Street. So I just usually don't give a report, and I was kind of anxious to give one today, and so I wanted to add that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
That was a good report.
I don't have anything official around the agenda this evening, but I'm going to read an after-action report from Chief Lloyd. I know many of you are probably here because of the spill that happened in Painesville Township that's affected the Grand River, and we have a boom that's skimming off the vegetable oil spill. So this is a memo from Chief Lloyd. Just to follow up with a quick after-action report from the incident on Saturday, August 13th, 2022 at 18:34 hours. Fairport Harbor Fire Department was notified of a substance in the Grand River. Fairport Harbor Fire Department conferred with Painesville Township Fire Department, and it was determined the spill originated in Painesville Township. Chief Huffman, he's the chief of Painesville Township, was the initial incident commander, and the Lake County Hazard Intervention Team was requested. The HIT is composed of firefighters from Lake County and the Lubrizol Corporation. It was determined to place a boom across the river at the St. Clair Street Bridge and Grand River Landing Metro Park. Fairport Harbor firefighters used one of our boats to pull almost 300 feet of boom across the river. Fairport Harbor Fire Department also were able to attach lights to the boom for the overnight hours. Fairport Harbor Fire Department cleared the scene around midnight. Fairport Harbor Fire Department returned at 0800 hours the next morning, and Chief Lloyd was the incident commander. Our operations included the transporting of Ohio EPA, the Health Department, and the Coast Guard Marine Safety Unit upriver for further investigation and re-securing the boom. He estimates our firefighters made 5 trips or more. Fairport Harbor Fire Department cleared the scene at around 1300 hours. Fairport Harbor Fire Department and Painesville Township Fire Department have kept in contact with various officials and the cleanup company throughout the incident. When people see our water rescue equipment, it is mainly thought for use in rescue and flood evacuations. This incident shows that we are also dedicated to protecting the environment and property. The decision to place this boom prevented the substance from getting into nearly 1,000 boat slips upriver, both at Fairport Harbor and Grand River. If you have any further questions, please contact the chief directly. I just would like to thank them for their quick action. It does seem like it's been contained to this point. I don't really have a lot of details outside of what's been released in a press release on Monday, or I think on Sunday, and then what I've read here. It did happen in Painesville Township. I'm sure Ohio EPA is all over this. They have every mechanism at their disposal to make sure that the cleanup is complete, and I'm sure there'll be all kinds of follow-up action items that we'll all read about. From our administrator this evening, Amy Constant.
Good evening. I've been asked to participate in a panel discussion regarding lakefront development in Lake County due to Fairport's focus on developing the lakefront. It's going to happen on August 26th at Menor Beach Park. Other panelists include Patrick Mahorsick from the Development Authority, Jason Boyd, County Administrator, Kelly Conrad of the City of Menor, and Rich Regovich, Mayor of Willowick. We had an administrative zoning meeting on August 8th. The mayor and our administrative team discussed a number of zoning initiatives, including language for Airbnbs. We're working on drafting language in conjunction with the final outcome of House Bill number 563 as it pertains to regulations for short-term rental property. In addition, we have a plan for property maintenance violations. We'll be working our way through the village in quadrants. We're working with language as it pertains to outdoor dining and demolition of structures. All of this will be presented to Planning Commission for review and then to council with a recommendation. Fairport Senior Center bylaws, Jim reviewed those for the senior center, and the change is in your council report. The change is any such contract authorized by this section shall be in the name of Fairport Harbor Senior Citizen Center and shall be paid with funds that are private funds of Fairport Harbor Senior Citizen Center. No alterations or additions to the senior center's building in excess of $2,000 shall be made without prior written consent of village council. If you are, as the mayor and I were talking about this, if you are comfortable with this language moving forward, we can prepare legislation for next month's packet. Veterans Memorial, the VFW, and the Village of Fairport Harbor are working with CT Consultants on plans for a new memorial in the park. Renderings and cost estimates are still being determined, and I'll keep you posted as we move forward. Fairport Harbor Village Fest is coming up. The third annual one will take place on Saturday, September 3rd from noon to 5 in downtown Fairport. We will also be having a golf cart parade, patriotic golf cart parade this year from 11 a.m. to noon prior to the Village Fest, and you can visit our website for all the details. One final thing. We are spraying for mosquitoes on Thursday. Well, not us, but the county. But we are on the list for being sprayed in Fairport Harbor on Thursday. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Does council have any questions for the administrator this evening? Okay. From our engineer, Mr. Clyde Haddon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As we heard earlier today, we are continuing with our planning for the bulkhead the bulk water projects. And Thursday is the integrating committee for OPWC, and we'll see how our Chestnut Street project fares in that ranking. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Clyde this evening? From our intern fiscal officer, Christine Page.
All right. In the month of July, we collected $474,482.67. Our expenditures for the month were $286,297.82. Our reconciled cash balance is $3,375,341.41. Council has completely received the entire package, and the only other thing that I would note is that we took in over $4,100 in interest on our money last month. So, anybody, right? Yeah, I'm real pleased with it. It's I'm going to ride it for as long as we possibly can. So, questions?
Okay, thank you. On old business, we have the second reading of the bulk water agreement. I wanted to bring to council's attention that on the agreement, under General A, the last sentence is going to be changed to what's in your packet is not correct either, so I'm going to read it. The outside rate for the village shall be 50 cents higher than the inside city rate. What's in your packet says the outside rate for the village shall be not less than a minimum of 50 cents higher than the inside city rate. I believe Painesville was agreeable to that change, or wanted that change to say the outside rate for the village shall be 50 cents higher than the inside city rate. Jim, do we just need to publish that in the next read for the agreement?
Yes.
Or do we make a motion here, or just do it in the agreement?
I think to further document it in the record, it would be a good idea to make a motion to just change that line, in the agreement. Okay.
So
Mayor,
make a motion here tonight?
Make a motion tonight.
Okay, gotcha.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to make the change as read.
Second.
Okay. Bertone?
Aye.
Heights?
Aye.
Backnick?
Aye.
McKinney?
Aye.
Shaver?
Aye.
Saracy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, then ordinance number 2022-53, resolution authorizing the mayor and the village administrator to enter into an agreement with the city of Painesville to supply potable bulk water to the village and declaring an emergency. That's second read. Safety Committee reports, Mr. Saracen.
I just want to follow up on your report on Chief Lloyd and our fire department. They did a great job. And I've been in touch with Chief Coran, and I want to thank him for being an active police chief. He's been out while we're missing a couple people, and it's good to see our chief out on the road and doing a great job. And then everything else is in the reports of how good they're doing.
Mr. Chief, you have anything to add this evening?
I appreciate that, thank you. And as always, when I took this position, I was with the understanding that I was going to be a working chief as well on the road, just like everybody else.
Good, thank you. Can I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Go ahead, Frank.
This is where I need to do the suspend? Do I need somebody to do a suspend motion?
It would be Christine.
Me, I'm sorry.
That's all right, so, and
We never did that for years. Do we really have to?
I'll make a motion to suspend.
thank you.
Second.
Hang on a minute, now I gotta write it down. Okay. Suspend, Backnick,
Aye.
Bertone,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Saracen,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Motion to pay the bills, Backnick,
Aye.
Saracen,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Bertone,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 2022-56, an ordinance by the Council of the Village of Fairport Harbor, Lake County, Ohio, to levy assessments for the improvement of various streets in the village by supplying said streets with electric street lighting and declaring an emergency.
I'll make the motion, Mayor, and just note that it's an annual event.
Second. Sorry.
Bertone,
Aye.
Backnick,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Saracen,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Have I done that right?
We forgot to suspend the rules.
Right.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Yeah, that.
Second.
Yeah, there. All right. I might get this someday.
It's totally
Got plenty
fine.
other ones.
I
Doing such a
know.
great
I'm
job.
trying.
I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. Okay. On the suspend, Bertone,
Aye.
Backnick,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Saracen,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
We should revote and have a new motion because we've now suspended
They're
the rules.
reversed,
and-
right.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna revote on the street
So I
lighting
think we need a
assessment.
new motion.
You wanna do a new motion?
Right.
Okay. We need a new motion to adopt 2256.
I will make that motion once again,
Thank you very much.
And I will second.
Awesome.
and I will make a motion to suspend the rules.
Well, no, we already
No, we're
suspended.
good. We
Okay, I
did
thought you
that.
wanted the whole thing all over. I thought you had no report, by the way.
We got it. Yeah, we got this. Bertone,
Aye.
Backnick,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Saracen,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Since we passed that twice, I think the lights will burn a little brighter in Fairport.
Now we're really sure about it.
I hope, we want to make sure we get the next one right. This is a very important piece of
Suspend
legislation.
first.
Suspend first, right. Ordinance number 2022-57, an ordinance confirming the employment of Amy Cossack as a village administrator, establishing her compensation and declaring an emergency. Before I ask for the vote, I just want to state that Amy and I had our annual review, and my recommendation to council is a 2.6% increase in Amy's pay. As I've said many times, I couldn't be happier to have Amy sitting at my left. She does a wonderful job for us, and will continue to. So, very grateful that Amy still considers us as a place for her. So, on that, I need a motion to approve.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Okay, suspend, Saracen,
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Backnick,
Aye.
McKinney,
Aye.
Shaver,
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye, and I guess by the vote, you can see we all appreciate you.
Thank you. Oh, that was really nice.
Motion to adopt ordinance Saracy.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 2022-58, a resolution to place delinquent accounts upon the tax list of the Village of Fairport Harbor for collection and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Move to suspend. Second.
Suspend McKinney.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Saracy.
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye.
Adopt McKinney.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Saracy.
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye.
Resolution 2022-59, a resolution appointing Ron Terriaco as a firefighter for the Village of Fairport Harbor, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Suspend Backnick.
Aye.
Sorry, Saracy.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Move to adopt Saracy.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Bertone.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 2022-61, a resolution to amend permanent appropriations and declaring an emergency. This is for the police department's line item. Uniforms increased by $1,372.72. Operating supplies increased by $650, and training services increased by $1,000.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Suspend Bertone.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Saracy.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Motion to adopt Bertone.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Saracy.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else this evening. Council, do you have anything before we open to the public?
3 items, Mayor.
Mr. McCone?
Cone legislation for vehicles that are not working after hours. We discussed this a few meetings back where people who drive utility vehicles and they place cones out in the street. Starting to see that everywhere. So I'd like to make a motion to have the administration put forth legislation to ban those cones when those trucks aren't working. Cable trucks, things like that. I would need a second, though.
Does she work?
Second.
Second. Go ahead.
Can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
No, when I open to the public, yeah.
I'm going to be 40 seconds.
Okay, on your motion, Bertone.
Aye.
Backnick.
Aye.
McKinney.
Aye.
Shaver.
Aye.
Saracy.
Aye.
Heights.
Aye.
The other is just a question about Harvey's, the former Harvey's location. I know they do sales there. Did they go through the planning commission to set that site up to have vehicle sales, boat sales, and those sort of items?
Are you talking about the boat that's out front of his property?
Yeah, they've had cars out there as well, and motorcycles
Oh,
and
they have?
various items, yeah.
Okay.
So-
I will check into that.
Okay, if they haven't, and because we've enforced that at other locations,
Yeah.
we need to be consistent. So if that's going to be a point of sales, then they should go through the proper channels to do that.
Absolutely. Okay,
And I know it's a commercial site, so it's just,
I'll check.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
The last is just a follow-up report. The last council meeting, we talked about zoning with respect to the big hole next to the creamery.
Yes.
So what has been the resolution of that?
Yes, so the homeowners have been contacted. They were told that if they were not going to start the building process, that they would have to fill in the basement that they were reserving. They did fill in the swimming pool. They have since contacted the county to get their sewer permits to start building. We were supposed to have a follow-up again with them at some point this week to see if they were able to get their sewer permits so they could start building. Their intent was to start building the house this year. So I'm actually going to follow up with the building department to see if any of the permits have been pulled.
So I'd like this to be part of every council meeting going forward, because last meeting and several meetings before this, and not to your fault, I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
The responsibility lies with the homeowner, but I feel like we're being led down a path. At the last meeting, we were told that there was a date in August, and I don't know if we've crossed that date in August?
We have not yet.
We have not, okay. And as soon as we do, I know there are noxious weeds there, and noxious weeds are a violation of our ordinances, and we need to cite them for any violation of our ordinances. There's precedence for this type of thing, and we need to take care of this problem. Someday, hopefully not, but something tragic is going to happen there because that hole is not filled.
Right.
And we can't accept that, so please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, we're open to the public. Again, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Agro 658 2nd Street. I wanted to thank everybody for all their hard work they've been doing. I know quite a few people on the council and whatnot. Three quick things. One is working backwards from what Tony just said since the last meeting, the big hole next to the creamery. Since the last meeting for the last month, there's been no fence on two, or at least one, if not two of the sides. So it's like having a fence around two sides of a swimming pool. I think that's horrible because there is no fence at all on the driveway side of the big hole. Okay. So just saying that, and it's been like that for at least the last month since the last meeting. Secondly, totally changing topics, to the discharge point on the Grand River for the Hardy Industries. I went down to the discharge point I think yesterday or the day before, and I've been down there about 3 months ago. This is where the actual sewer line comes out of Hardy Industries. They have a permit for discharge into the river. But the brick structure that's around that pipe, and I'm sure the EPA is looking into this, was not fractured or falling apart 3 months ago. It is cracked in half, and they haven't had any vehicles back there because it's sort of a walking path. You could barely bring an ATV back into that area. So I'd kind of like, I know it's Paynesville's property, but pretty much it barely touches Paynesville, the river from there through Fairport and Grand River, to keep an eye on that pipe and structure being sound, especially once we get our ice jams in the wintertime. And thirdly, on the water tower project, I know I saw your presentation on some possible things looking like a peach and whatnot, but if anybody, I think that's a great idea to, as Tony said, put some kind of graphic on the tower to, you know, make Fairport, you know, recognizable, flamboyant, whether it's a lighthouse or something about the lake. But an excellent examples, if you haven't seen them before, is if you go down Fairport Nursery Road, just north of the Paynesville Township Fire Department, that's there, the new one. There are some large tanks that Avery Dennison has, and they have 3D graphics with awesome sea turtles and some really cool graphics. And, you know, Avery being a great local company might be able to even do something for us, but putting some sort of wrap on the tower, making it look exceptional as you're driving into the town, I think would be a great idea. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CT has already told us it's going to be the best looking water tower ever. I think that was in the meeting minutes, right?
I do believe so.
They were competing with the lighthouse, so.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Toyman. Oh, hold on, Karen. No, go ahead.
Karen Bidlack, 635 Eagle Street. At the last council meeting, you mentioned something about the railroad crossing on High Street and it being repaired. Has the railroad, Ohio, been contacted about getting that taken care of? Do you recall?
We passed legislation to ask them to come and help fix High Street, if we had any contact with Norfolk and Southern for the railroad crossing.
Right. We are sending that legislation out to different authorities to help us get that repaired. We have not heard anything back as of yet, but we do have that legislation that we're sending out to folks to help us get Lower High Street tracks fixed.
Are you getting any responses from them?
From the railroad themselves?
Yeah, are they responsible for it?
They're responsible for the repairs, yes, Norfolk is, yes.
And they're not responding? Okay.
Not as of yet, no.
Certified letter, there you go. Okay.
Send it to the congressman, please.
He'll be visiting soon. Mr. Toivonen, I think it's,
Brian Toivonen, resident at 612 3rd Street, directly across from the Savini Club. And right there is my problem. I've been there for 50 years, and the Savini Club noise is totally out of hand. Last year I approached him, and I questioned the guy, and he said, I'll talk to the board. I didn't hear nothing back from him. So this year it's getting worse, 5 and 6 nights a week, and if I hurt anybody's feelings, that's how it's gonna have to be there. I'll be damned if I'm gonna live there for 50 years and have a bunch of drunken yahoos out in the courtyard, which shouldn't even be there, and ruin the whole neighborhood. There's no buffer zone, there's nothing. That noise from them just yelling and screaming like a bunch of little 10-year-old girls 5 or 6 nights a week is just totally uncalled for. And we're letting them build more outdoor facilities right next to houses. So I'm asking for council some kind of help to nullify that. My answer is completely shut down the outdoor room. I don't know how it's even there. When I moved there 50 years ago, there was a house and a bar. Then they put in a parking lot. The whole yard's a parking lot. Then they added the outdoor recreation center. From what I can understand, unless there's some special arrangements made, a C1 has to have indoor facilities. So unless there was some special arrangements made in the past and you let them do it, anything like that's supposed to be indoor enclosed. And this year, it's totally uncalled for. Okay. Just all the yelling and screaming. I mean, they're adults. But you put 15 guys or women out there and you feed them beer or whatever they're drinking, it's out of hand. It's ruining the whole neighborhood.
Chief, have you had any complaints? Because I know you live in the same area. I don't want to put you on the spot as a neighbor, but I mean you are there.
I have heard some rumbling in the community about it. I believe that there was some a new game that was put in outside there, and I think that has probably increased the noise level, and of course there's music with it as well.
So what's the ordinance then? Would it be? I mean, we have a noise ordinance in town that we can certainly enforce, right?
As goes for the zone, where the property is zoned, I'll have to check to see what exactly we're looking at with that. I believe I was going to be getting with Dave on that as well, to see what exactly was arranged with them at the time, because it's my understanding that some of this stuff was delayed that they were going to be doing at the club. Might have been like a while ago, and now we're just now seeing the fruits of that take place. So.
Okay.
But it's never been as bad as the last year and a half. It's totally uncalled for. I don't know what else to do. I'm not going to let it go.
Fair. Thank you.
Whether I get help from you guys but to close the thing completely or enclose it, I don't care. Just so I could sit on my porch and not listen to a bunch of guys, rock the house, baby! Hey, way to go, Alice! Nice job! That's uncalled for.
Okay. Thank you.
Carla Rebotzi, 501 New Fourth. Back on August 3rd, I had sent out an email to the mayor, Amy, and the Street and Sidewalk Commission. And this was concerning ordinance 1317.2.01 about sales of homes. And from what I can tell, there's been over 43 homes sold this year alone, and probably more because some are being sold within the family or something. But there is an ordinance that the inspections need to be made of the sidewalks, the aprons, and the gutters and the downspout splash blocks. And just going over the sold homes and walking around the neighborhood and seeing nothing being done in a lot of the homes that have been sold. So that's my issue. Is that what you were talking about, Amy, on violations going through the quadrants?
Actually, and I sent you an email this afternoon, Carla.
Oh, okay. I didn't
with
check.
the updates of your questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But and you could read that at your leisure, and then if you have any questions. But I kind of explained the background, point of sale inspections versus rental inspections, and what we do for a point of sale inspection and how many we've done this year.
Okay.
So we've actually done 61 point of sale inspections already in 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's completed by our service department. We do the driveway aprons, the sidewalks, the downspouts. And so, and I explained in this email for you, so the point of sale inspection itself is $20, and then that other fee that you had listed in there for $100, that's for our rental inspection, so they're two different animals there. But I broke it all down, and I reviewed some of the properties that you sent me as well. So take a peek at that, and then let me know if you have any questions, or you need additional information, I can get
Well, I
that for you.
guess how long do these people have to make these repairs?
Well, what
And
happens-
it's supposed to be done, isn't it,
Well,
during
what happens
escrow?
is, yeah, they put the money for the repairs into escrow, right?
Okay.
And then either the seller or the buyer can take responsibility for those repairs. So they can't sell it or do anything with it until they've cleared that, until they made the repairs, and then we tell the title company that they're free to go. So those properties that you actually forwarded to me are still in escrow. So they're still waiting to be repaired.
Okay,
That or there's a time frame given.
Probably beg to
even
differ.
after the sale, because I don't know that they'll hold the sale up until they're done, but if the money's in escrow, then there's a time frame allowed.
Right.
And each case is on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
So Amy, as she says, she's addressed it in the email. We won't get into all of them here, but it's a process, is the easiest way to say it.
okay, I didn't know that someone was literally doing these inspections at
Yes.
all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I forgot to address the phone issue.
I need you at the podium, sorry. It's just the folks are watching us now, so.
Thought you forgot about me.
I forgot to address the cone issue. You should have asked. Hey, that's mandated by the companies because little kids wouldn't get run over. Anytime you park those vehicles, that makes the driver go in the front of the vehicle, pick up the cone, see that everything's clear, and go to the back of the vehicle and pick up the cone to see. So that's just a safety thing. You know what I'm
And I
saying?
don't think-
No, that's not what Tony was talking
No,
about.
It's it's after hours, so the safety issue that I see with it is, they don't necessarily put it in front of the vehicle or behind, they put it out on the street, so cars are swinging around that because the lane isn't big enough and they're getting to the other lane
But
at
that's
night.
what it's for, and that's mandated. If they were to back over a kid,
Yeah,
then
but
that's their
during,
job.
during work hours.
Yeah, well, anytime you park that truck,
But
really.
anybody
You're
could do.
supposed to chalk the wheels and the cones in the front and the back, strictly a safety measure.
It is,
Just have
but-
them move it off the street.
Well, we would like to have that happen, but imagine
Right.
if every car in the village or truck in the village did that.
Right,
You
yeah.
couldn't drive down some of these streets here.
Well,
We
yeah,
can't
right,
do
but
that,
I would
so.
think the cones would be a less alternative than somebody getting run over.
Yeah.
Backed over because, Fairport wouldn't let me put out cones.
Well,
It's just a strictly.
You have a responsibility, though, as a driver to do those things. I understand what you're saying, but it's also, I've seen on the one I look at on Second Street every night, very close to the stop sign there, there's a car swing way out onto the other lane, and I've seen near misses several times, but I got you, but
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir. Got a lot of repeaters tonight.
Sorry, one last thing, just
You're all right.
because it's a safety issue and it's been like this for probably about 10 or 15 years, but can I at least mention the stretch of 2nd Street between High Street and Water Street, which is one way right in front of our lighthouse? There's no one-way signs on Water Street. I've seen hundreds, if not thousands of cars pull up going the wrong way because they don't know it's the wrong way until they're going the wrong way. We have 2 one-way signs at the top of the hill and none at the bottom of the hill. And the only way to go the wrong way from the top of the hill is if you get in your car and go backwards down the hill. It would cost us $0 to just take those 2 signs and put them on the bottom of the hill. Plus, half of the do not enter signs have been blowed over to a 45-degree angle over the last 10 or 15 years. But those one-way signs should be on the other side on the Water Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Saracen? Heights? Becknick? McKinney? Shaver? Bertone?
Aye.
Thank you.